Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. UNFPA State of World Population 2025, the Real Fertility Crisis report released. Crisis in India's microfinance sector, insights from RBI Deputy Governor. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs issues advisory for repurposing of smart city special purpose vehicles. Home Minister reviews flood management preparedness and mitigation strategies ahead of the monsoon. Etalin Hydropower project cleared in Arunachal Pradesh biodiversity hotspot. Brazil and France launch Blue Nationally Determined Contributions Challenge. In our first news for the day, UNFPA State of World Population 2025 report titled The Real Fertility Crisis calls for a major shift in global thinking, from panicking over declining fertility rates to focusing on unmet reproductive goals. At the heart of the report is what it terms a reproductive agency crisis. The real problem, it says, isn't overpopulation, but the inability of people to achieve their desired family size, often due to a lack of choice or support. In India, the situation reflects a fertility duality. While states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Jharkhand continue to report high fertility rates, others such as Delhi, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu are now below the replacement level of 2.0. The report identifies several barriers to reproductive freedom. Financial constraints top the list, with 4 in 10 individuals citing cost as a major hurdle. Structural challenges like job insecurity at 21%, housing shortages at 22%, and lack of childcare at 18% also play a role. Add to that social pressures, with nearly 19% facing family or partner pressure to limit the number of children. And modern anxieties, from climate change to loneliness and shifting gender roles, are increasingly shaping decisions about parenthood. Now, if we turn to India's progress and persistent inequalities, India's overall fertility rate has dropped significantly, from 5 in 1970 to 2 in 2025, a result of expanded access to education and healthcare. However, persistent inequalities across states, income groups, and castes still limit reproductive rights. To address this, UNFPA recommends expanding sexual and reproductive health services, including universal access to contraception, safe abortion, and infertility care. It also stresses the importance of removing structural barriers through affordable childcare, education, housing, and flexible work policies. Most importantly, it calls for inclusive policies that extend these services to LGBTQIA+ communities, unmarried individuals, and other marginalized groups. A quick note on the organization itself, UNFPA. It was founded in 1969 as the United Nations Fund for Population Activities, and later renamed in 1987 as the United Nations Population Fund, retaining the original acronym UNFPA. Its mission remains clear: to ensure sexual and reproductive rights and choices for all, while empowering women and young people to take informed decisions about their bodies.
Moving on. There's growing concern around the crisis in India's microfinance sector, as highlighted by the RBI Deputy Governor. The sector's gross loan portfolio, or GLP, has seen a year-on-year decline of 13.9%, reflecting rising borrower stress and a clear slowdown in lending activity. But first, what exactly is microfinance? According to the World Bank, microfinance or microcredit refers to the provision of small-scale financial services to individuals who lack access to traditional banking channels. Let's take a closer look at the challenges faced by microfinance institutions, or MFIs. There's the high cost of outreach, as MFIs operate in remote and underserved areas, dispersing small-ticket loans that make operations expensive. Despite years of effort, India's MFI outreach stand at just 8%, far behind Bangladesh's 65%. Next, the interest rates charged by MFIs remain high, ranging from 12 to 30% compared to 8 to 12% offered by banks. This gap persists due to fixed transaction cost and the limited volume of lending. Then, there's the issue of the urban poor being often ignored. Most MFIs are concentrated in rural India, with only about 800 MFIs targeting urban populations. Another major challenge is loan defaults. Since MFIs generally offer unsecured loans with no collateral and poor risk assessment, over 70% of repayments are delayed, creating serious challenges to cash flow and sustainability. Additionally, MFIs are heavily dependent on commercial banks, with nearly 80% of their funding sourced from them, making the system vulnerable to credit fluctuations. Moreover, MFIs lack product diversification. While they provide microcredit, services like insurance, savings, and remittances are rarely offered, limiting their overall impact on financial inclusion. So, what steps has the government taken? The SIDBI Microfinance Scheme is one key initiative. It requires participating NGOs and MFIs to contribute equity support to become eligible for SIDBI's financial assistance. Another significant move is the Self-Help Group Bank Linkage Program, or SHG-BLP, launched in 1992 by NABARD. Clearly, while microfinance remains a powerful tool for inclusive growth, the sector faces serious structural and operational challenges that need urgent attention from both policymakers and financial institutions.
The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has issued a significant advisory on the future of smart city special purpose vehicles, or SPVs. With the Smart Cities mission set to conclude on March 31, 2025, the government has decided that these SPVs will continue to operate beyond the mission's timeline. To understand the move, it's essential to know what SPVs are. These entities were created under the Smart Cities mission in all 100 selected cities as companies registered under the Companies Act 2013. Launched in 2015, the mission aimed to improve the quality of life in 100 selected cities by providing efficient services, robust infrastructure, and a sustainable environment. SPVs are jointly owned by the state or union territory governments and the urban local bodies, sharing ownership in a 50:50 equity ratio. Structurally, they're led by a full-time CEO and governed by a board comprising representatives from the central and state governments and ULB. Their core responsibility has been to implement the mission through focused planning, project development, and on-ground execution. By March 2025, over 93% of 8,000 plus smart cities mission projects were completed, with 99.44% of the 48,000 crore rupees budget disbursed. Looking ahead, the government envisions a repurposed role for SPVs. They may continue to support urban local bodies by managing cyber hygiene, data systems, and analytics. Furthermore, they can take up the implementation and development of bankable infrastructure projects, earning a service fee ranging from 1.5% to 3%, in line with state norms. In addition, SPVs are expected to contribute to evidence-based urban planning by supporting research, conducting assessments, and coordinating logistics. They can also play a key role in facilitating investments and promoting local economic development through structuring projects, managing procurement processes, and intergovernment coordination. Through the strategic repurposing, the government aims to sustain and scale the capabilities developed during the Smart Cities mission, ensuring that the innovation, efficiency, and experience built over the years continue to benefit urban India well beyond 2025.
As the monsoon approaches, India's Home Minister has reviewed flood management preparedness and mitigation strategies to ensure minimal impact and maximum resilience. The minister reaffirmed India's zero casualty approach in disaster management, highlighting the increasing importance of space technology in flood control. So, what key directives were issued? First, the focus was on uniform road designs, particularly on state and district highways, to ensure proper drainage integration, a crucial step in preventing urban flooding. Next, emphasis was laid on expanding forest cover in river basins like the Narmada, which not only aids in basin revival but also helps reduce soil erosion. Let's now understand the fundamentals of flood management. A flood is defined as a high water stage in which water overflows its natural or artificial banks onto normally dry land, for example, a river inundating its floodplain. As per constitutional provisions, flood control is primarily the responsibility of states listed under Entry 17 of List 2nd. Flood management in India broadly follows a twofold architecture: structural and non structural measures. Under structural measures, reservoirs like the DVC dams in the Damodar Basin store excess water and help mitigate floods. Embankments, especially in flood prone states, provide a major line of defense. Over 37,000 kilometers of such structures have been built under the flood management program. Detention basins for wetlands such as Mokama Tal in Bihar are formed using natural depressions and serve as effective flood buffers. Now, on to non-structural measures. Floodplain zoning demarcates flood-prone areas to restrict hazardous development. Flood forecasting, managed by the Central Water Commission, is a cost-effective and critical tool. The forecasting window has now been extended from 3 days to 7 days. But that's not all. Space technology is playing a pivotal role in modern flood management. Real-time flood monitoring and mapping, like that drawn by ISRO's National Remote Sensing Center during the Kerala floods in 2018 and Assam floods in 2022, provides crucial decision-making data. Early warning systems under the National Hydrology Project now combine satellite data with IMD and CWC inputs to issue predictive alerts. State-level flood hazard atlases, such as those created for Assam, Bihar, and Odisha, use historic satellite data to guide planning. For instance, Bihar's atlas helps relocate vulnerable settlements in advance. Satellite communication, or SATCOM, ensures uninterrupted connectivity during floods, aiding faster disaster response. Lastly, web-based platforms like NRSC's Bhuvan make flood-related data accessible to agencies like NDMA and SDMAs for timely action. In summary, India's flood management strategy today is a strong mix of policy, planning, and technology, with a clear focus on saving lives and building resilience. Moving on. The Forest Advisory Committee has granted in-principle approval to the Etalin Hydropower project in Arunachal Pradesh, located in a highly sensitive biodiversity zone. Let's first understand what the Forest Advisory Committee, or FAC, is. It's a statutory body constituted under Section 3 of the Forest Conservation Act 1980. Its primary role: to provide recommendatory advice on the diversion of forest land for non-forestry activities like mining and infrastructure. Now, about the project itself. The Etalin Hydropower project is located in the Dibang Valley of Arunachal Pradesh. This region is part of the Eastern Himalaya Global Biodiversity Hotspot, one of just 36 such hotspots worldwide. The project involves construction of 2 gravity dams, one on the Dri River and the other on the Talo, also known as Tengon River. It is expected to generate a massive 3,097 megawatts of power. But this development comes with serious environmental implications. The project will lead to the felling of 2.7 lakh trees and divert over 1,100 hectares of unclassed forest land. This area is rich in biodiversity, home to 6 globally threatened mammal species, including 3 endangered and 3 vulnerable species. It also houses 56% of India's total bird species, along with 3 very rare, restricted range endemic bird species. And beyond the environment, there are indigenous concerns. Local tribal communities, including the Adi and Idu Mishmi, have expressed strong opposition, highlighting fears of displacement and loss of ancestral lands. Clearly, the Etalin Hydropower project stands at the intersection of development and conservation, making it a critical issue in India's ecological and social landscape.
Moving ahead, Brazil and France have launched the Blue Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDC Challenge. Alongside them, an inaugural group of 8 countries, Australia, Fiji, Kenya, Mexico, Palau, and Seychelles, have already joined the initiative. Let's dive into the details. The Blue NDC Challenge calls on all countries to place the ocean at the heart of their NDCs ahead of COP30. It's supported by the Ocean Conservancy, the Ocean and Climate Platform, and the World Resources Institute through the Ocean Resilience and Climate Alliance. The ocean plays a critical role in addressing the climate crisis. It absorbs approximately 30% of global carbon dioxide emissions, acting as a significant carbon sink. Coastal habitats like mangroves and seagrasses sequester carbon at rates up to 4 times higher than terrestrial forest. Additionally, the ocean captures about 90% of the excess heat generated by greenhouse gas emissions. It also presents immense potential for renewable energy, with offshore wind energy capable of meeting over 1/3 of global electricity needs. Globally, several initiatives are underway to protect ocean ecosystems. These include the establishment of marine protected areas or MPAs, regions designated for conservation, where activities are restricted to protect marine life. The UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development from 2021 to 2030 also aims to stimulate ocean science to reverse ocean decline and promote sustainable development. On the Indian front, initiatives like MISHTI or Mangrove Initiative for Shoreline Habitats and Tangible Incomes and the Deep Ocean Mission are notable steps towards ocean conservation.
In today's Personality in News, we will talk about Sant Kabirdas, whose birth anniversary is observed on 11th June. Sant Kabirdas was born in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. His core belief rejected rituals, casteism, and idol worship, and emphasized belief in one God through Nirgun Bhakti. Verses ascribed to Kabir have been compiled in 3 distinct but overlapping traditions. The Kabir Bijak, preserved by the Kabir Panth in Varanasi and other parts of Uttar Pradesh. The Kabir Granthavali, associated with the Dadu Panth in Rajasthan, and many of his compositions are also found in the Adi Granth Sahib, compiled by Guru Arjan Dev. Kabir's poems have survived in several languages and dialects. Some are composed in the special language of Nirgun poets, known as Sant Bhasha. Others, known as Ulat Bansi, upside-down sayings, are written in a form where everyday meanings are inverted.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. The Finance Minister recently chaired the 29th meeting of the Financial Stability and Development Council or FSDC. It is an apex-level non-statutory body constituted by the Government of India in December 2010, with the objective of strengthening and institutionalizing the mechanism for maintaining financial stability and promoting financial sector development. Israel launches first naval strike on Yemen's Hodeidah port, located in western Yemen on the coast of Red Sea. About 70% of imports and 80% of humanitarian aid enter Yemen through the ports of Hodeidah, Salif, and Ras Issa, making these ports vital for both trade and aid. Sri Lanka is celebrating the sacred Poson Poya festival today, marking the historic arrival of Buddhism over 2,000 years ago. Poson Poya is celebrated on the full moon day of June in Sri Lanka. A key value highlighted is non-violence. It reminds that ahimsa or non-violence is a timeless principle that protects life and freedom for all. The Karlsruhe tritium neutrino or Catron experiment closely observed the disintegration of molecular tritium to estimate the neutrino mass. Catron experiment is located in Germany and is aimed at determining the absolute mass of neutrinos, among the most elusive particles in the universe. Drift and oil spill advisory issued by INCOIS after fire on container ship off Kerala coast. Indian National Centre for Ocean Information Services or INCOIS also activated its search and rescue aid tool to track possible drift patterns of containers debris. Researchers at the National Institute of Animal Biotechnology found that reducing the activity of a cellular protein called cathepsin B helps preserve the ovarian reserve and is involved in protein turnover, antigen processing, and apoptosis, a programmed cell death for tissue regulation. CAQM, CSIR, CRRI, School of Planning and Architecture signed an MOU to reduce dust pollution via urban road redevelopment in the National Capital Region or NCR. Commission for Air Quality Management in NCR and adjoining areas is a statutory body set up under Commission for Air Quality Management in National Capital Region and Adjoining Areas Act 2021. Russian attack damages St. Sophia Cathedral in Kiev in Ukraine. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site built in the 11th century and is regarded as a symbol of Ukraine's statehood and spiritual heritage. It was listed in 1990 for its architectural and cultural significance, described by UNESCO as part of the new Constantinople vision. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.